Ladies and gentlemen, anytime someone passes away, it obviously takes a tremendous toll on the family. And there's a tremendous tsar, Hashem Yerachem, suffering, pain, and agony. So, the one thing that they want is that Bezrat Hashem should be able to bury the deceased in a peaceful fashion. Like the Gemara says, a person should pray that even his burial should be done right and in peace. With that being said, we're going to read about the famous story of Yaakov Avinu when he is about to be buried in Marat HaMachpelah in the city of Hebron, together with his parents and grandparents. He's about to be buried in their burial plot. Comes along his brother Esav, who was his twin brother, and the tremendous Rasha. He comes along and he wants to put up a fight and claim that that is his spot. That is his place of burial. And we all know the back and forth that the Midrash tells us about. And eventually, Chushim, one of the grandchildren of Yaakov Avinu, who was deaf and mute, he got very disturbed by the situation. And he came along and chopped off the head of Esav. He killed him on the spot. And the head of Esav rolled into the grave together with Yaakov. And his body was eventually buried elsewhere. Morai v'Rabotai, this is obviously a very intense situation. Our sages ask, ultimately, after the fact, what zechut, what merit did Esav have that his head was able to be buried amongst Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, Adam, Chava? What zechut, what merit did he have to be buried amongst these greats? And they explain as follows. Esav, as we know, was very, very knowledgeable in Torah. His head was full of wisdom. He knew a lot of information. But his body, very, very corrupt in his ways. So in essence, his head had the merit to be buried amongst the greats, because he knew a lot. But unfortunately, because his actions didn't match up with his knowledge, his body was obviously put elsewhere. You know, the Torah tells us, "In bechukotai telechu," if we walk in the ways of the Torah, then there'll be so many brachot that we get. And Rashi tells us, what does it mean, bechukotai telechu? To walk in the ways of the Torah. It says, "Tiyu amelim b'Torah." You have to be amel, you have to toil in Torah. And the obvious question is, one second, walking in the ways of Torah and toiling in Torah are two different things. Toiling means you're sitting over your book, you're analyzing the Gemara, the Halacha, you're not moving from your spot. And walking means walking. So why does Rashi tell us, B'chukotai telechu, walking in the ways of Torah means to actually learn and toil over the Torah? And the obvious answer is, it's not enough to sit and learn Torah. It's not enough just to get the knowledge, but you got to live it, you got to walk it, you got to breathe it, you got to actually conduct in that fashion. That's how there's many people that can have knowledge in Torah. Baruch Hashem, they learn. But their behavior, their manner of speech, Hashem Yerachem, they don't represent Torah Judaism. They don't represent the values of Torah. And this is something we have to all strive for. To make sure what we learn is going to be seen into action. This applies to people of all ages, to men and women. You go to shiurim many times. You hear musar about how to conduct yourself at home with your spouse, how to keep certain mitzvot, how to control your anger, your jealousy. We hear it, but it's it doesn't really penetrate, or we don't act upon it. Really, our goal should be not to just hear things and have information and know different halachot, but it's actually to live it. Let's not be like Esav, that knew a lot, but didn't live it. Rather, we should be the type that we have chokhmah with maasim. We have wisdom together with actions as well. Shabbat shalom mevorach.